On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we recap OU's unbelievable loss to Missouri. We also recap the other good games of Week 11 of college football, and we give you our winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Sunday, November 10th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of November, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. 2 minutes to go, 7-point lead, and somehow you lose in regulation.
Yeah.
Hard to do, Ted. That is a hard feat to accomplish, but somehow, some way, the Oklahoma Sooners figured it out. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm looking at the ESPN win probability that tracks during the game with uh with 5.5 minutes to go. I guess you can go all the way to 3.5 minutes to go. Missouri has a 78% win probability. Then with a minute and 27 to go, Oklahoma has a 94% win probability. And then clearly they lose the game. Pretty wild, the swing of emotions at the end of that one. That was
This
can't even.
since we've been doing this is the least excited I've been to do a podcast. But it is our obligation to this fan base to talk through what we saw last night in Columbia. And honestly, man, I got a funeral to go to today, celebrating an incredible woman who has left an amazing legacy. And I'm much more excited for that funeral than I am to talk about this offense.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest, but let's dive in. Let's go. Let's start on the defensive side of the ball, Ted. What'd you see from OU's defense against Missouri's offense?
It's pretty wild. There's a ton of good. I had us for 76 plays. And the vast majority of those are solid. They found some stuff in the running game. We knew that was going to be an issue. That outside zone is dangerous, but they carried the ball 46 times for 135 yards, a 2.9 yard average. That's pretty good. Longest run of the day was 10 yards. Pretty good.
That's not pretty good. That's excellent.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Drew Pine came in as the backup. We kept him in check for most of the game, and then he made some big plays late. I mean, you could really sum up the whole day. Well, here's the thing. In my keys to the game on the broadcast, one of them was we have to win the turnover battle. We can't give the backup quarterback an out. We need to make him drive the length of the field every time. We can't give him short fields. That's bailing out the situation. They had one drive the full length of the field, and it was the final drive of the game. 8 plays, 75 yards for a touchdown. Had the great throw and catch to Theo East in the corner of the end zone. That's the last play they ran of the game. But we had a corner fall down on the deep ball to Luther Burden. We had the most horseshit call in the history of defensive holding calls. Well, maybe I guess maybe it wasn't even the worst one of the day.
We'll get to that. Utah's AD not happy, Ted. Not happy at all.
um, but that bailed them out on a third and long and gave them an automatic first down. But we gave up that drive. It was 8 plays, 75 yards, and they got the touchdown. The rest of the game went like this: punt, punt, turned them over on downs, punt. We gave up a field goal, but that field goal drive started at the OU 28 off of a muffed punt. Then we forced a punt, halftime. Punt, 12 play touchdown drive that started on the 40 after an OU turnover on downs on our first drive of the second half. Then we forced a punt. Then we gave up a touchdown on a 9 play, 30-yard drive that started on the OU 30 after a fumble. Then we had a fumble, scoop, and score for a touchdown. And then we had the final 8 play, 75-yard drive. 76 plays, 278 yards given up on defense. So all in all, it was a solid day. That could have been much better had we not turned the ball over a bunch. I think we would have made life absolutely miserable for Drew Pine in that offense. I just generally speaking, we did a good job on Luther Burden for the most part until that play down the sideline where Jacoby Johnson falls down when he's spinning around. They had a weird formation, trips into the boundary. We got to be, given the situation, we just almost a little too casual on the back end. I think was it a 3rd and 16 or something like that? I think it was. Uh,
Yep.
we have to be we have to like, have our antennas up way more than we did on that. Um, they hit some stuff in the outside zone. They got us on a couple of third downs where it's like third and medium, and we're playing for pass, and we've got backers up, mug alignment, like we're showing blitz, and then we're going to bail out and defend the pass, and they run outside zone on us, which is not a good place to be defensively. And they converted a couple of third downs that way. We were at the end of the day, we were not good on third down, and I think a lot of it had to do with some of those like third and short to mediums where they kind of had us guessing on what they were going to do. Um, but before we get into individual players, that's kind of what I see. I feel like 9 times out of 10, that's they played winning football. Some of the situations that they were thrown in add to the total at the end, and we could have been better in some critical moments. But all in all, grayed out pretty good.
The defense was not the issue.
Yep.
And how many times have we come on here and said exactly that this season?
A
Pretty much
lot.
every time they've lost a football game.
Yep.
And even the games they've won, we've come on and said this.
Yeah.
It, yes, would it have been incredible if they would have been able to get the stop when they absolutely needed to get the stop? Yeah, but they just scored on defense
Yeah.
to create the lead, okay? The defense is not the problem.
Yeah.
I
And it's clearly it's good. It's not perfect. There's some stuff there. We lose a guy. We lose the tight end in man-to-man coverage when we give up one of the touchdowns. The screen to Theo Weiss it's not. It's not good. We have him kind of hemmed in. Don't tackle great. Not a, everyone's kind of waiting for someone else to make the play on that one. I mean, but so I don't want to come on and act like the defense was just exemplary. It was good, and there was plenty of good stuff in there. Um, but there's still some things that obviously they're going to be upset about. Guys that played well, thought our Mason Thomas had another really good game. He was great on the edge on some of those outside zones. Had a couple of tackles for loss. Had a big sack late where it looked like, here he comes, fourth quarter again. Whenever we need it, he's going to make a huge play. Made a great sack. Thought that was good. Interior guys, solid for the most part. We got cut off some in that outside zone, which is going to happen. But Grayson Halton was really good. Jaden Jackson was solid. Ethan Downs showed up on some stuff. He had big play on one of those little bubbles that they threw, and he was tough on the perimeter like he always is. Thought Caden Wooler did good too. Um, at backer, Stutzman, huge night. Think he ended up being credited for 19 tackles. Was all over the place, directed traffic. Um, just another outstanding performance by him. Kip Lewis did some good things. He's starting to let guys get into his chest a little bit. He's blocked quite a bit. There's like a there's a big swing. Like you take a guy like Stutzman, and when he's blocked, maybe he's pushed off the spot a little bit. When Kip is getting blocked, he's getting guys into his chest, and he's lighter, and he's getting buried. So he has to work on his pad level, being more sudden whenever he's taking on some guys coming up to the second level. But he's running around really well. I thought Lewis Carter came in. He didn't play a whole lot, but he had an impact. Made a couple of nice plays. Had a big hit running on a jet, and then had a nice tackle playing the flat on a tight end. Flipped that guy over. Made some nice plays. Kobe McKenzie was solid. On the back end, I didn't think it was a great day at corner. Um, it wasn't terrible. I mean, Jacoby Johnson fell down on the one that wasn't good. I thought he was kind of like really scrambling out there, struggling. Um, Eli Bowen was okay. Didn't think it was his best game. Had a couple of plays. Des Malone was out there a little bit, had an impact on some runs. But I thought it was one of our weaker games at corner. And then at safety, Robert Spears Jennings was solid. And then Billy Bowman, I mean, huge impact on the game. Had the fourth down stop where he smashed Luther Burden. That was huge. They threw that deep ball to Luther Burden in the back of the end zone, and he was in great position there, defended that ball, and then obviously had the scoop and score for a touchdown. And those are three huge plays, and he was a factor in a ton of other plays as well. So, I mean, that's kind of it defensively, unless anything else sticks out to you.
I thought the matchup with Burden brought out the best in Billy Bowman.
Yeah,
That's as fast as I've seen him play all season long. He was
yeah,
flying around. That was fun to watch. I just feel for Stutzman, man.
yeah. It's
Just
tough.
talking to him after the game. You come back for your senior year in this, I mean, you're 5-5,
Yeah,
and you've played well defensively.
yeah,
Have you been the best defense in the country? No. Have you been one of the better defenses in the country? Yes. And you're 5-5.
yep.
That's
Yeah,
tough, man.
if we were just okay on offense, our defense would probably be a top 10 group.
I think that's very fair to say. Once again, Ted, I think the defense played well enough to win the football game. Would you have loved for them to get that stop? Sure. But you
Mhm.
go on the road and you give up 278 yards of offense. The first half, they were dominant.
Oh yeah.
Dominant. And, Missouri found a couple things in the second half, but you mentioned it. It was aided by the offense or special teams handing Missouri great field position.
Yeah. First half was punt, punt, turnover on downs, punt, the field goal. after the drive started at OU's 28 after the muffed punt. So 4 punts, a turnover on downs, and a stop on a turnover deep in your own territory, forced a field goal. That's excellent.
You got anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, I hate it for this group. It's tough, but you know, all you can do is keep getting stops. Right? Just keep going out there, keep getting the ball back, keep improving. It's there's nothing else you can do.
I told multiple guys on the defense this after the game. The camera, they never turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are playing at Oklahoma, I assume you want to play in the National Football League. And the defense, they got 2 money games left. You got Bama and LSU. I'm not worried about the defense at all because Billy Bowman wants to be an early round pick. Danny Stutzman wants to be an early round pick, and those guys are going to drag everyone else's asses with them.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys have 2 opportunities left to show that they're big time players and that NFL teams should take them with high round draft picks.
Yep.
So I'm not worried about the defense letting up anything like that because I know how the leaders on that side of the ball are wired. And let's be real, they got money games left.
Yeah.
For them to improve their draft status. So they're gonna bring that group along. I think I'm not worried about the defense. I'm not worried about it at all. Am I worried about Jalen Milroe? Oh my God, yes. We'll get to that. But as far as the motivation for the defense moving forward, I have no concerns at all about that group.
Yep. I agree. I mean, you got to, in the grand scheme of things, you could say, well, these next 2 games, they don't matter. Well, you can make them matter. There's going to be a bunch of people watching, and go play spoiler for Alabama. You go beat Alabama at home, play a great game defensively, then there's definitely going to be a bunch of people that notice.
That it for the defense?
Think so.
The time has come. Let's talk about OU's offense against Missouri. But first, hitting the highway, remember to stop at Love's Travel Stops. You can't miss the heart of the highway. And with the Love's app, you can also save big. How big? 10 or 15 cents big. Save 10 cents per gallon on gas and 15 cents per gallon on auto diesel. Save with the Love's app today and be welcomed by clean places and friendly faces. Certain conditions may apply. See loves.com for details.
Oh, you tailgaters, listen up. We're now officially in the premium conference of college football, and you expect a premium product on the field and on the grill. That's why you need Didier Ranch's steak burgers to take your tailgate to the next level. Proudly raised in Oklahoma for over 120 years, premium beef this good is hard to come by. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER ranch.com. Use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch. Tradition plays better and tastes better.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the official drinkware partner of the OU Sooners. Husbands, feeling a bit like the Grinch about holiday shopping? Let Simple Modern make your gift giving merry and bright. Surprise your wife with exclusive limited edition items from their holiday collection, or add a little sparkle with their new luxurious quilted Harper tote. Your kids will light up over their favorite licensed character gifts, and your office mates will love new tumblers and water bottles to kick off the new year in style. With Simple Modern, holiday shopping is done in just a few clicks. Plus, 10% of all profits go to charity. Many right here in Oklahoma, spreading cheer far beyond the holidays. Simple Modern, it's good everywhere. All right, OU's offense against Missouri defense. Just don't turn the ball over. I honestly believe, I don't think this is dramatic. If you just run the football and throw bubbles and maybe some swing routes, you probably win the football game. But because I thought, and I was surprised as I went through the film because I thought OU's offensive line was really going to struggle against Missouri's defensive line. The offensive line played well enough to win the game.
Mhm.
They held up better than I thought they would. Quarterback play, poor. Tight end play, for the most part, and some of the blocking stuff, poor. And then you had Farouk and Burks back, but wide receivers, there's no one open. There's no one. We are apparently the only team in the country that can't scheme someone open throughout a football game. And then no one's winning in this one. Brennan Thompson looks hurt. Burks looked about maybe 80%. Farouk maybe looked 70%. No one's open. So, as critical as I'm about to be of Jackson Arnold and the way that he fumbled that game away, it's not like he's got a bunch of wide receivers that are being schemed open and running open, going, hey, Jackson, throw me the ball. It's not anywhere on the tape. I watch Colorado and Texas 10 times a game. Throw the ball into the flat to a skill guy, and he's one-on-one in space, and they go make a guy miss and get a big play. And we apparently can't do it at all. Not once. It's crazy. And let's just maybe it's just easier to dive into the position by position stuff and start with quarterback. But the story of Jackson Arnold's season for 2024 is he is a critical mistake waiting to happen. And I hate that for the guy, but the tape is what it is. Your defense is playing lights out. Don't turn the football over. There was one thing you couldn't do on the last drive of the game. And what did he do, Ted?
I mean, it's not just fumble it, it's like fumble it into the worst area possible. Yeah.
Just take care of the football. Just take care of the football and you go to overtime. Instead, careless with the football. Did the one thing you couldn't do. And this was a rough one right from the get-go for Jackson Arnold. First drive of the game. Sails the slant to Brennan Thompson. He's open. Put it on him. Then just fumbles the ball on his own. And at that point, I'm going, oh boy. Let's hope he settles down. He didn't settle down. He fumbles again on the second drive. One of the best block plays of the entire football game. Turns it over. Really well blocked power scheme. Turns it over. You look at the stat line, 15 and 24 for 74 yards. It's hard for my brain to register that stat line for an OU quarterback.
15 completions for 74 yards. Five yards of completion.
And once again, in his defense, no one schemed open. Very few guys winning when Missouri was playing man coverage. I mean, blanketed across the board. And then the scheme, like the play calling, there are just not many layups for Jackson Arnold. And if he's not going to bring anything in the passing game, then play Hawkins. And right now, unless you see it differently, Ted, like Jackson Arnold looks uncomfortable when he has to drop back and pass. His feet, his eyes, it looks like everything is moving very, very quickly for him. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's clean pockets. He's all over the place. moving for no reason, eyes just head turning. It's clear he doesn't know what he's looking at, or I don't want to say he's panicking, but that's just kind of how it looks. It
Yeah,
was it was a really, really rough game for number 11.
it was. I don't know. I can't, it's hard to put your finger on it exactly because I don't know. Obviously, it all works together, but we clearly can't stretch the field in the passing game. And since we can't stretch the field in the passing game, nobody, everyone is just like right up on us and like just pressing our wide receivers. Rarely do we ever have a cushion anywhere to work because there's just no threat of any type of deep ball at all. So there's no space created in the defense, and that makes it harder to run the ball because you got everyone near the line of scrimmage. It makes it harder to do everything. So I don't know, and I know we don't want to just be giving away downs to push the ball downfield, but it's never going to change until you're able to stretch the field vertically. I mean, it's not.
You're right. What did they do? They threw it down the field once.
Kind of.
JJ Hester wins
Yeah.
initially, and Arnold throws it back shoulder, even though he won on the go ball. I I think that was it. There were two passing plays in this game for OU that were over 15 yards. Can you tell me those two plays?
I can tell you both of them. The fake punt and the throwback trick play touchdown.
Nailed it. Jackson Arnold didn't have a single completion over 15 yards. That's just, and I feel like I've said it a lot this season, that's just an incredibly difficult way to play offense. If you can't produce any explosive plays in the passing game. The pass protection was it perfect? No, but was it consistently solid? Yes. It was okay. It honestly was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And the quarterback play was just, I mean, you were hoping to see gradual improvement from Jackson Arnold. And let's be real, he took a step back in Columbia on Saturday night. And it felt like a big step back. Because it's hard to play the position when you don't have any confidence. And I don't know what else to say.
Uh, you mentioned Mike Hawkins. Do you expect a change be made at quarterback?
I think everything's on the table
Yeah.
with what Jackson Arnold just put on tape. I mean, remember the pick six he almost threw?
Yeah.
There's six guys in the box, Ted. There's six blockers. What do you do in the RPO game when there's six guys in the box and you've got six blockers?
Hand it off. I
You
saw
hand that bitch off.
half of a replay of it on the Jumbotron, and because I can't hardly ever see a replay at all in the game, and it looked like it was blocked wide open.
One
Like
of the
a
best block plays
massive
of the
running
day.
play. Yeah.
Massive hole for Taylor Tatum. Massive. Wide receivers. Hope Deion Burks is okay, man. That was a vicious shot he took late. How that's not targeting, I don't know what that rule is. But let's just hope that Deion's all right, because that did not look good, and he was in bad shape after the game. Before that happened, he looked about 80% to me, like I mentioned. 5 catches for 44 yards. did not have the suddenness that we saw from him earlier in the season as a route runner. And unfortunately, maybe my favorite play of the entire game on offense. You line him up in the backfield. You create a matchup for him. He goes and wins right away on the angle route. Catches it, gets hit, fumbles. Turnover. Honestly, that was the biggest impact he made on the game. Was him fumbling.
Yep. I agree. I like that play. It's when you watch Missouri's offense, even though they didn't put up a ton of numbers, it is a concerted effort to get Luther Burden a bunch of touches. Like if they can't get it to him in the passing game downfield, which has been a struggle this year, they're lining him up in the backfield, handing it to him on the jet sweeps, throwing the little swings any way possible. And I like that we were at least showed that we have some of that stuff with Burks.
Well, we handed the lead sweep to Bauer Sharp, not Burks. Handed it to 10 with Taylor Tatum as the lead blocker. Because, yeah, that makes sense. I just don't understand how that happens. You sit down, you put a game plan together, you go, hey, we're going to run a lead sweep with our tight end with a running back who has struggled to block all season long as the lead blocker. How does no one in the room go, you know what? I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know how that happens. Back to the wide receivers. Jalil Farouk, need to be smart with this guy. I think Jalil, with where things stand right now, I think he's coming back next year. I don't know anything for sure, but all signs point to him wanting to play another season to prove what he is as a player in the SEC. So they need to be smart with him because the play speed is not there for him. And I know he can play in the last two games, but you need to be really smart with him so that he's healthy for the offseason. That fifth metatarsal in the foot is tricky. So just be smart. You want this guy to be healthy in spring ball or in winter workouts and spring ball and in summer, like being a leader for this football team. So be smart. But, you know, he just doesn't have the play speed right now coming back from the foot surgery. Brennan Thompson, 1 catch for 2 yards. He looks hurt. He's constantly working on his leg pretty much the entire football game. If he's hurt and can't play fast, then it's hard for a guy his size to be productive. Jacob Jordan, Ted, in the last 2 games, all the dude did was get open. Unless my eyes lied to me. And his first snap was 3rd and 6 with like 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. Now you got to catch it. You got to hold on to it. But how is that possible that a guy over the last couple of weeks who has gone out there and produced, you have a couple wide receivers come back and that guy just doesn't play at all? What kind of message does that send to your football team?
No.
Like not a single snap, not one, until the third down where he catches it and ends up dropping it. Explain that to me. Help me understand. I thought if you went out on the field, I thought if you got your opportunity, Ted, and you went out on the field and you produced, you kept getting opportunities. That's how I've always understood it.
Usually that's the case. You hope it's the case.
JJ Hester, nothing really of note. Running back, Javante Barnes didn't make the trip. Really could have used him. One thing I will say is that guy has played his ass off this season. So I'm not gonna question anything about that. It is what it is. He couldn't go, didn't make the trip, couldn't go. Taylor Tatum, he looked sped up in this game. Missed some holes because he was like a little antsy to bounce things out to the outside. You have to understand how blocks are being leveraged. A lot of the time, bouncing it out there is not a good idea. And he missed a few things, but he's doing a better job of knowing what to do when he's out there on the field. Pass pro is still a struggle and will continue to be a struggle. And teams are going to continue to test him until he proves he can perform at a high level in those situations. The bright spot of the entire football game, Xavier Robinson. I said it last week. Sure, are we sure this guy can't help this football team? And the answer is he absolutely can. Play him. Got to have it drive in the fourth quarter. And he embraced the moment. And Missouri players that were making tackles were going backwards.
Yeah, he's a load.
Also, he looks very natural catching the ball out of the backfield.
Good balance for a big guy.
No doubt. I think
like
out of all the things, the most encouraging thing offensively was what Xavier Robinson did and what Logan Howland did. We'll get to that. But I thought Xavier Robinson thought he was really good. I thought he did a fantastic job when you consider the circumstances he was thrown in on that gotta have it drive in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. I think he brings a level. I mean, it's nice to get him in the game late whenever you've got a defense that's maybe worn down, and and I'm not saying that's the only time you should use him. I say hand it to him the first play of the game, but just to have that size, and he's got such great balance for a big guy. It looks like someone's going to come up and take a shot at the legs to take him out, and you feel like he's going to take a step and stumble forward, but he doesn't. He regains his balance and he keeps running, keeps churning the legs. And he's moving fast. And I said it on the broadcast, he kind of reminds me of Kennedy Brooks, where, Kennedy Brooks would look like he's not running fast, but he is. He's covering a ton of ground, hard to bring down. There's like a smooth nature to the way that he runs. It's maybe not as sudden or, choppy and making cuts as it is just kind of snaking through a little bit, but he's got great force behind him. I love what I saw from him. And he's got that natural knack, kind of like what you're talking about with Taylor Tatum. He has what you see a lot of guys in high school. You can always bounce it to the outside and gain the corner, right? Because you're faster than everyone. Well, at this level, you can't do that. I feel like Xavier Robinson has a little more natural feeling for setting up the blocks and coming back inside, and just the pace that he plays matches up perfect with some of our run schemes.
I want to see more. Give me more of 21.
Agree.
Tied in, Bauer Sharp just so up and down, man. Clearly, huge play on the fake punt. In the run game, he's good at the zone insert play. He's getting better at the split zone play. He really struggled in some of the counter stuff. And it's if he's just got to become a smarter football player. If the picture changes, like the guy that he knows he's supposed to go to block initially, if that picture changes in some of the counter stuff, he just looks lost. Like he can't adjust to things moving and changing. He's got to figure that out. The lead sweep to him, we talked about that. Not great. The tight end screen, the timing of that play call was bizarre. And he runs so far from the core that he gives Logan Howland no chance to block the guy that's got Sharp man-to-man. That was just a disastrous play.
It's, yeah, Like the one thing we can't do in our offense is get off schedule. And when you run these plays that have the risk of taking a 5 or 6 yard loss, just it's a drive killer. Drive over when you take a loss on a play like that for us right now.
So you mean you can't run an awesome fake punt and then celebrate it so hard that you get a delay of game and get yourself in 1st and 15?
Yes, exactly that. That's the exact point I'm trying to make.
Unbelievable.
Is that
Embarrassing,
what it was? I
honestly.
never really could figure out what went on there. Like we were wanting them to like reset to 40 seconds for some reason. I don't know why, but
So instead of what that went all the way down to the 10-yard line.
yes,
So instead of 1st and goal from the 10, you had 1st and goal from the 15.
field goal.
Can't happen. Just can't happen. Yeah, it was a great fake. Offense. Go get your ass on the field. Let's go. I I don't know how that happens.
Remember we had to burn the timeout on the slow substitution on that big third down. And timeouts ended up being critical in this game.
Offensive line. I said Xavier Robinson was the biggest bright spot. Logan Howland may be the biggest bright spot of the game for me. I thought he played without a doubt his best game. The technical flaw has been fixed. The technique looked good. I would still like to see him use his hands more as weapons, but he's getting better with his hands. He did a really nice job in pass protection in this game. And as he's playing more, you're seeing the football IQ increase.
That's what we want, improvement.
He's improving, Ted. 4:38
Yes.
to go in the game. You run quarterback GY counter. Howland sees number 30, the inside backer, starting to cheat over outside. When Missouri does that, that means edge pressure is coming. We talked about the weird linebacker alignments and what it meant when we previewed this game. Howland sees 30 creeping outside. He knows that means that the defensive end is going to slant inside instead of flying down onto down block. He's patient. He waits for the defensive end to slant across his face. He collects him. Now, unfortunately, Bauer Sharp did not understand that when the picture changes, how he fits into the concept. Doesn't block a guy. The play does not pop as a result of that. But that's really good from Logan Howland. Really good. But I thought, and even the quarterback throwback play, I mean, he has the key block on that play. He just gets a piece. Instead of blowing the guy up and getting a 15-yard penalty, he just goes and gets a piece, which allows Jackson Arnold to run for a touchdown. Some really encouraging things from Logan Howell in this game. And I think, I talked to him after the game, I think the confidence is growing. I think he's getting more comfortable being out there and playing. And he looked better, which is exactly what you want to see. I think you can say Heath Ozida played his best game as well. I would like to see him look a little more sure of where he's working in the run game and in pass protection, like all the time. What linebacker am I working to? Sometimes there's still a little head turning like, hey, where am I going? But him and Howland had some really nice double teams in this game. Where I would like to see Heath improve is when he's on an island, whether it's zone insert, just the inside zone play, split zone. Like, I want to see this guy move guys. He's capable of moving guys. And it's just there's not enough force off the ball in those situations for me, for a guy of his size and his capabilities. I think that Right now, he's kind of covering guys up. I think this is a guy that should be moving people.
That's the next step. You know, from experience, I know whenever I first started playing, there's like you're tiptoeing around out there just trying to be in the right spot. And then eventually it turns into you know where you're going before it happens and you start playing with more speed and violence. So hopefully it's coming. I mean, you got to get that right first typically. And then hopefully there's a breakthrough coming.
Encouraging stuff at left tackle and left guard. As I watch those guys, you think about where they can be a year from now, even 6 months from now. You look at both of those guys and say, hey, they can be starters in the SEC. We just watched them hold up against Missouri, who's got a solid old veteran group along the defensive line. Both those guys held their own. Were they dominant? No. But did they hold their own? I thought they did. Troy Everett, another solid performance. I would like to see him be more demonstrative with communication. You're on the road, man. Where are we going? Which backer? Let's let everyone know. I feel like as a group, there's not enough communication. I would like to see more communication. I think back to what it looked like at Ole Miss. Guys pointing, guys talking. I would like to see more of that. And that's Troy Everett's job. He gave up a little too much push in some such situations in pass protection. Where Seven McClellan, that dude's a load. He's got to learn to hop. He's too small to walk back and try to anchor. He's not big enough to do that. Someone's got to teach him to hop. Maybe it needs to be me. It's what I had to do. I wasn't a big guy. Or I wasn't a heavy guy. He's got to learn to use that technique in pass protection to shut that down from a big power rusher. But that stuff mostly happened when it was late and they were kind of teeing off a little bit. Fabechi Wiwu, I did think he did a better job pulling in the counter concepts. Some big collisions there for him, and I thought he did a nice job there. There's got to be more from this guy in the running game. Just has to be. He also, his stance, I just hate looking at it. He gets his butt like super real low, and I don't know if it's when he gets tired or his stance needs to look the same every play. And it doesn't. I would like to see that get corrected. Spencer Brown had, he had probably the biggest negative play of the entire game for the offensive line. 4th and 1. Hated the call. It was the only time they ran the inside zone play all game long. And it looked like he was trying to talk to Bauer Sharp.
I remember that play. Yeah, he was definitely they were talking when the ball was snapped.
He's late as a result. Linebacker penetration kills the play. And how about this? Very similar situation later in the game. Same thing happens to Logan Howland. What's he do? He's on time. He washes it by. First down, Oklahoma. Encouraging things from 71. I'm telling you, Ted. Encouraging.
I like it.
But that was, for Spencer Brown, that was obviously a massive negative play in the game. Because turnover on downs and then, right, Missouri goes and scores. But honestly, for what I expected it to be, I thought Spencer Brown played well. I really did. And they did a nice job of, he was not at the point of attack very much in the run game, which was smart coaching.
Yeah.
He's kind of just have to shield a guy off, but he covered guys up. And that's the thing. That's the frustrating thing for me is I was expecting to turn on the tape and look at the offensive line performance and go, oh, man. And that was not my reaction at all. I thought they played well enough to win the game. There's just there's no explosives, man.
Yeah.
None. I I don't know.
Fake punt and the throwback play are the two explosive plays you had, right?
Think Jackson Arnold, he had that one long run
Yeah. That's right. Yep.
where he kept it on the read concept. Good read, proper read. Nice play. Also
Hey,
runs out of bounds when there was probably about 10 more yards for him to go get. I don't know why he just
yeah, I saw that. I was wondering that in real time if he could have cut that back, but
a lot
you
of
know
grass.
the story for the offense really is 13 turnovers in the last 5 games. Cannot win playing playing that way. I mean, the first thing I want to say is you can't win in the SEC like that, but you can't win anywhere like that. You cannot turn the ball over 13 times in 5 games. I especially whenever, we have our issues personnel wise. Like we are a banged up football team for sure. The margin shrinks massively whenever you don't have starters out there. We don't have that type of depth right now. So whenever you factor that in and combine it with 13 turnovers, you can't win games. It's not rocket science.
Pretty simple, man. You you got anything else you saw from the offense?
No. 5 fumbles, lost 4 of them.
The fumbling has been crazy.
I know.
It's like it's spread. It's like it's an infection.
Well, there when turnovers become a problem, like fumbling becomes a problem, and you start consciously trying to think about it, it don't fumble, don't fumble, don't fumble, don't drop the ball. It's like it always is going to show up. So we're in the death spiral of fumbling right now, it feels like.
Had to drive to go get try to set up your kicker, who Zach Schmidt was awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
A 56 yarder just kicked the hell out of that thing.
Good for another 10, maybe.
Was hoping to get an opportunity to go out there and win the football game. And instead, the one thing you cannot do at the quarterback position in that situation is exactly what happened.
It looked to me, I just saw a quick little, we were in the booth. Very hard to get replays in that stadium for some reason. It looked like he's pulling the ball back to throw it away. And as he pulls his hand back with the ball, pop, there she goes.
It's a really, really tough way to lose a football game.
Yeah.
Let's get to caller's shot. We asked you guys the number one takeaway you have from OU's loss to Missouri. This first one comes from Mark Crowell, who says, need to pay whatever money for the number one OC and his staff and the number one portal QB. OU fans are not happy with the
Oh my
offense.
goodness.
I
I
mean,
can't
that I would say
imagine.
that is quite the understatement.
Yeah. And I don't know. I wish there was just like an easy ranking of who the number one offensive coordinator is, and it's
A giant neon sign that's
yeah.
blinking around him going, hire this guy, it will fix all the problems.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask 5 people, you're probably gonna get 5 different answers as to who that number one guy is.
Let's be real. Who's going to take the job?
Well,
When you
cons-
just look at when we look at the situation and how things have gone in the first 3 years under Brent Venables, this is 2 out of 3 years just massively disappointing seasons.
Mhm.
And if you are a big time offensive coordinator, is that a situation you want to walk into? I'm asking Ted. I don't know.
If I'm an offensive coordinator and people are coming to me with jobs, um, the first thing I look at is what does the talent look like on the football team currently? How does that stack up? What is the recruiting ability of that school? And what type of war chest do you have for NIL? I mean, those are the three things I look at. Um, you also have to factor in uh, what's the future? Like, am I jumping on board a sinking ship, or is the future bright? And people may view that differently at Oklahoma. If you sit back and you look and you actually break down the way some of these games have gone, I and maybe it's because I'm in it, but I think the future is bright whenever you see the way that the defense has played, and you feel like if you can find a foothold offensively, you can perform at a much better rate standard. But I mean, that is, I think it kind of the situation does feel like you may not be in the running for some of the like the young hot up and comers. You know, you feel like they may want to hitch their wagon to an opportunity maybe that's a little more stable at the moment. But that may not be the case. I don't know. Maybe it's just as simple as money talks.
There's definitely that, right? If you pay a guy $2 million, you're probably going to have a nice line of candidates.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that Brent Venables is able to go to a big time offense coordinator and go, hey, we're going to be good on defense. If you come and fix this offense and you do it quickly, you're going to be a head coach as a result of that. I think that's probably the best selling point is, hey, come fix this disaster. And if you do it, you're going to look like a genius and people are going to want you to be their head coach.
Well, and here's the other like four. Oh, wait, is it three? Three out of the last six offensive coordinators have had Heisman Trophy winners, right? You had Chuck Long had one, Kevin Wilson had one, Lincoln. The guys that didn't are Hype, Levy, and Seth and Joe John. I'm combining those two, I guess. So three out of the last six have had Heisman's, and everyone except for the current situation is ended up in head coaching jobs, big head coaching jobs.
We'll see. We'll see how that develops. But I think at this point, we really haven't talked about it on here because you wanted to give Joe John Finley every opportunity to prove what he could do as a play caller. But there's going to be a new offensive coordinator. We'll see how much of a new offensive staff there is. But that now becomes, along with acquiring more talent on the roster, maybe that's the most important thing. But other than that talent acquisition, whether that's through NIL and the portal or through just, high school recruiting, the most important thing for Oklahoma football right now is that they hire an offensive coordinator that can get this thing on track.
Yeah.
Because this program has wasted a really good defense in 2024.
Yep. I I know it's not the time for the conversation, but I still think that this group's going to be really good next year.
I agree.
as a potential.
Yeah, I think you're going to get a lot of guys back. Of course, Stutzman and Bowman. You're right. Not the time for it. That's an off-season conversation. All right, let's recap a couple of the big games from Week 11 in college football. But first,
Schwab Meat is making Friendsgiving more fun with another NIL partnership for the holiday season, starring Billy Bowman, Jada Coleman, Kobe McKenzie, and Kenzie Hansen. Schwab Meat has been smoking the highest quality turkeys and hams for your special holiday meals since 1912. Every Schwab turkey is cooked and smoked over real hardwood hickory for 12 hours. Make your Thanksgiving meal easy this year by ordering your holiday turkeys and hams online at schwabmeat.com. Get free shipping on online orders over $75 with code OKBreakdown. Schwab Meat, the official champion of the holidays.
and three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you are headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open at 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
All right, week 11 in college football. Let's start in a rainy Oxford, Mississippi. Whoa.
Wow.
28-10. Ole Miss, dare I say, bullies Georgia. We watched pretty much this entire football game together, Ted, up in the booth there in Columbia.
It's a beatdown.
Nothing fluky about it. Ole Miss controlled this game at the line of scrimmage. That defense for them, they were awesome. Georgia had 245 yards of offense. I think they forced 4 fumbles, got a couple fourth down stops, picked off Carson Beck. That Ole Miss defense was flying around, physical, and they whooped Georgia.
Yeah.
Whooped them.
It was impressive. I mean, it was I like to look at it sometimes as if you didn't know anything about football, and you just popped in to watch that game, you didn't know Georgia's history, you don't know Ole Miss's history. It's clear who the better football team is. You know, if you don't carry knowing how good Georgia's been over the last 5-6 years, if you don't carry that in, you look at that game and say, this is a beatdown. This Ole Miss team, this Georgia team, they're not on the same level as this Ole Miss crew, which that is saying something, because I know that Ole Miss put together, talking about a war chest, they had a war chest and they put together a roster, but it's not like Georgia doesn't have a fantastic roster themselves. I mean, that is a talented football team.
It looked like Ole Miss just went to a level that Georgia couldn't match, which is kind of crazy to say out loud. I expected the Georgia that showed up in Austin to show up in Oxford. And early, it looked like I was going to be correct. That was a nightmare of a start for Ole Miss. What? Dart gets picked off, Andy's hurt. But credit to Ole Miss, man. They took it to another level. They went out there and they pushed Georgia around, which over these last several years, you don't say that very often, man. That was impressive, and credit to Lane Kiffin. Massive football game. And his team was ready to roll. I thought that that was a hell of a performance from Ole Miss.
Hey, OU, we put up 329 on Ole Miss. We're better than Georgia, right?
Pretty
No.
sure that's how that works.
And I was they had it firing on all cylinders. Their defense was all over Georgia's offensive line, all over Carson Beck in the pocket, stuff in the running game, out hitting them. They were the more physical team. Offensively, they were running the ball. Bentley was going off. They were giving him the ball in the passing game, in the running game. He had a great performance. And then their kicker steps in, and what was it? Was that a 56-yarder he kicked over the upright?
53.
53.
You and I were watching it going, did you see where that ball just went? That was good
Great.
from 70.
It was, I've never seen that before. That
Caden
was
Davis
wild.
he hit 5 field goals. And I'm sure that Lane Kiffin isn't pleased that they settled for so many field goals, but that dude has a cannon attached to his leg. And
Yep.
I thought it was interesting. I thought Kiffin made some good calls in this game where normally he's ultra aggressive in some of those fourth down situations. And I think he took a step back and recognized how his defense was playing
Got a
and said, you know
defense.
what? Let's kick the field goal. Let's be a little conservative. I thought there were several moments in that first half where he went, you know what? Defense is playing lights out. Let's just kick the field goal. Let's get points and let's lean on this defense. And ultimately, those were smart decisions from Lane Kiffin.
Has anyone's stock dropped more than Carson Beck's from one year to the next?
No, I can't recall a guy legitimately being in the conversation for going number one overall. And then all of us being like, hey, are we sure this guy's an NFL player? Like, and maybe that's a little dramatic, but yes, he has. I think it's fair to say his stock has plummeted.
Man,
And
he has.
to his defense, Ted, their left tackle could not block Emmanuel. He couldn't block Perkins. Like that guy was getting worked all game long.
Yeah, how's that feel? How's that feel at quarterback? He has thrown 2, 5, 8. He's thrown 9 interceptions in the last 4 games.
That's a lot.
5 touchdowns to 9 interceptions.
I think the only thing that went wrong for Ole Miss in this game was the premature field storming.
Ah,
You got to
yes.
wait it out, students. Come on. Did you see Kiffin after the game? He turned and
Uh,
was like, does that mean we get fined twice? Pretty funny.
that's good.
I A massive win for Ole Miss. And if they play like that, and remember, Jackson Dart was hurt. Like he didn't factor into the run game at all, really,
Right. Yeah.
because
Well,
of
whenever he went out, the lefty came in and I think took him down the field, scored a touchdown, didn't they?
correct. Tied the
Yeah.
game at 7.
That was
I,
big.
I think they feel good about him moving forward. But Georgia, I mean, they got handled. And
It's
this is we talked about it before this season started. This may just be life in the SEC from now on, where everyone loses 2, 3 games and you have to view it more through an NFL lens where 9-3 is a hell of a year.
yeah.
10
Everyone's
and 2 is an
margins.
incredible year.
Yeah. The it's everyone's margins are way thinner. Um, everyone's way closer together. The schedules, for the most part, are way closer. I mean, Georgia and Alabama are playing the most difficult schedules they've played in a long time, and it's showing. On top of the fact that because of the transfer portal, they don't have the massive talent advantage over everyone else. They still have the advantage, but it's not near. I mean, some of their second team guys have moved on, and there's just been this movement of players to where it's a lot closer than it's been. And I it's very telling whenever the story in a lot of these games is what Georgia are we going to get? What Ole Miss are we going to get? Previously, it didn't matter what Georgia you were going to get, right? The margin was just so extreme that they were going to, if they showed up and played bad, they won by 10, you know. But now it's if you show up and you turn the football over on the road, you're going to lose. And they turned it over, what, 4 times?
And got smacked.
Got smacked.
Got field goaled to death.
Death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Ole Miss, all of a sudden, you have to look at them and go, hey, would it shock me if they were playing in a national title game? I wouldn't shock me.
Bye week at Florida,
Win.
in the game at home against Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl.
Win
2 games
and win.
That's how
Won't
I would
have
see
to
it.
play. Will they have to play in an SEC championship game? There
Current
is a incredible logjam at the top of the SEC.
Tennessee, A&M, and Texas all with one loss right now at the top of the standings. Georgia, Ole Miss, Bama, Missouri, LSU with 2 losses.
Tennessee's got Georgia in Athens on Saturday.
Tennessee's got Georgia.
And A&M and Texas both play each other.
Right.
Last game of the year. So someone's taking a second loss there.
You said before the season started that you thought there would be a 2-loss team playing in the SEC championship, and it's starting to look like that's going to be the case. It's not a guarantee, but it's shaping up in that direction. I mean, if Tennessee and A&M win out, or if Tennessee and Texas win out, you'll have 2 one-loss teams. But other than that, you're going to have a 2-loss team in there.
Welcome to the new SEC. It's the mini NFL.
Yep.
Alabama went to Tiger Stadium at night. They brought back a live tiger, even though it wasn't Mike the Tiger. That was so weird.
Yeah.
Guess that governor just really wanted a tiger on the sideline. Strange. But the live tiger on the sideline did not help, Ted.
No.
That was another beat down, 42-13, and it wasn't even that close. Jalen Milroe is, I think he's healthy. I think he's good. They could not stop him as a runner.
No.
And he's a special athlete. There's just no there's the guy's a freak. But when you think about, you go back 2 weeks and how things unraveled for LSU against A&M because they could not defend Marcel Reed as a runner. And you have 2 weeks to prepare for Jalen Milroe after you just got carved up by QB run game. And you go out there and you put that on the field. I have to assume LSU fans are not pleased with Brian Kelly.
I hope there's some light bulbs going off for that LSU game for Oklahoma. I mean, Milroe, and I'm not clearly we don't have Milroe on our football team, but 12 carries for 185 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, the best thing going for LSU is that the football field's only 100 yards long. Right?
Touchdown runs of 39, 10, 19, and 72.
A third of his carries were touchdowns.
Bama ran for 311 and 6 rushing touchdowns. That'll do.
There's getting beat. I mean, I've always said this, like, you can play some teams that throw the football a lot and you get beat and you come down and you sit at your locker after the game and it's like, what happened? And then there's games like this where they run the ball 48 times for 311. You come down and you sit in front of your locker and you know you got your ass beat. There's no like what happened out there. You are beat and battered, bloody, muddy, and like that's the worst way to lose a football game.
Bama set the tone early, too. First two drives, 8 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 15 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. Just came right out and punched him in the face. And Alabama's defense has gotten quite a bit of criticism this year. I thought they were really good in this game. LSU's run game was non-existent. I think they ended up with 104 yards. 45 of those came on a Caden Durham carry on the first drive of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, they just completely shut it off the rest of the game. And then, Ted, Garrett Nussmeier did what Garrett Nussmeier does. He made mistakes with the football.
Well, hey, that's what getting a big lead does. Whenever you can get out in front of a team where they've got a player that is prone to make mistakes, and you can make them one-dimensional, and you can really put them in a corner, and you know what they're going to try and do. You could dial up pressures. You could change coverages. You got the entire playbook to your advantage. That's whenever you can really step on people. And that's the benefit our defense has not had one time this year. Never.
Bama has looked like the best team in the country for a couple of stretches this year. You think back to the first half against Georgia. Whoa. Some stretches of this game where defense is flying around. Nussmeier's making mistakes. That pick in the end zone was the game. It looked like, hey, they'll cut it to a one-score game here. Nope, pick in the end zone. All right, this one's over. But I think Bama at its best is the best team in the country.
Which, back to our point from a moment ago, this is a two-loss team. Lost at Vanderbilt and at Tennessee. So, I mean, the season is different.
I can't believe bringing the live tiger back on the sideline didn't work.
You can't bring an imposter, man. You can't fake it.
It's a fake mic.
Like OU's just going to bring some random ponies to go pulling the what you call around the. I can't even think of what it's called.
You can't think of what the Sooner Schooner's called right now. That's where we are mentally, people. Ted Lehman, a man that has dedicated his life to Oklahoma football, can't even think of what the Schooner's called. This team is breaking us.
I was thinking wagon, but because unhitch the wagon. Which should Toby change that? Does he have to say unhitch the schooner?
Doesn't sound nearly as good.
I know.
The Schooner is a wagon.
Yeah.
But not every wagon's the Schooner. Something to think about, people. Impressive from Alabama.
Alabama's got Mercer at Oklahoma, Auburn. If you're an Alabama fan, you like the way the rest of the schedule looks.
Thanks for putting it nicely, at least. Let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. But first,
Insurica's launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
and head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
I've got Brigham Young University. Undefeated. They are 9-0 currently. They've got Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston left, but they go on the road to Utah and get the dub. Comeback win. They're down the entire game, and they come back at the end with well, I guess they're not down the entire game, but they're down 21-10 at halftime and claw their way back. They go 12 unanswered and get the win. The walk-off field goal. I guess it's not walk-off. There was like 3 or 2 seconds left, but they get the comeback win and a little bit of controversy to go with it, Gabe.
It was the only defensive holding call of the day that was worse than the one that happened in our game. What did you think? It looked like there wasn't much of anything there. Now, Osweiler was on the call, and I played with Brock. Brock is an extremely smart guy, high football IQ. He said it was a good call on the broadcast. Okay, there really wasn't a great look at it that I saw. It looked, for the situation, it looked awfully ticky-tacky.
Yeah.
For those of you that didn't see it, it was 4th and 10 at the BYU 9-yard line. Their quarterback, Jay Retzloff, gets sacked pretty quickly, I may add. And they called a defensive hold. They gave them an automatic first down, extended the drive. They eventually get it down the field and kick a 44-yard field goal to win the game.
Yeah. Yeah. You hate bailout calls like that. That one's even worse than ours, the down and distance situation. Like the one we had, I saw the film of it, saw the replay of it in the stadium once. I think it's a horrible call. They call the defensive holding on us as Pine is like he's winding up to throw the ball out of bounds, and in an area he's not even looking or throwing to. You got Woody Washington is like bodied up with Luther Burden. It's such a chicken shit call. It is unbelievable. Like, I hate bailout calls. If it's legit and like it has something to do with the play, okay. But like if you're away from the play, the guy's throwing it out of bounds. Like he's not making an effort to keep it in bounds. And it didn't happen early in the play to where it affects the outcome. It's just the flag should not be thrown. It's stupid.
Did you like what Utah's athletic director did after this game?
Yeah.
You were a fan? This is a quote from Utah AD Mark Harlan, who took the podium after the game to say this game was absolutely stolen from us. We were excited about being in the Big 12, but tonight I am not. We won this game, but someone stole it from us. I was legitimately stunned that he did that.
I agree.
What is the record for the biggest fine in the history of college football for an administrator?
I don't know, but it's going to be really weird whenever you issue a fine and then at the same time in like the notes of the game, the officiating notes of the game, they send back defensive holding should not have been called. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Um,
I mean, there is some, you see the clip, there's some grabbing there. There's
yeah,
some grabbing. Do I love the call? I do not. Do I understand how the official could see defensive holding? Sure. Do I understand what Mark Harlan is trying to accomplish going scorched earth after the game?
yes.
I loved it, don't get me wrong, but I don't know what he thinks he's going to accomplish with that strategy.
I don't know, but um, uncomfortable out there in the Salt Lake City area right now. The rivalry game renewed, ends on controversy. BYU undefeated, staring a playoff appearance perhaps in the face. Pretty wild.
Who do you have as your loser
Which
of the weekend?
first, let me say, Kansas at Arizona State and Houston left for BYU. So there
How
you
about
go.
the Jayhawks this weekend?
Yeah, that's where we're going next. Loser, Iowa State knocked off by Kansas. And I mean, Iowa State absolutely cruising. Now, they hadn't had any like huge victories against, top. I mean, they beat Iowa early in the year at Iowa. Iowa was 21 at the time. But back-to-back losses, lost to Tech and then lost at Kansas 45-36. And I mean, now they're going to need help because the standings have them now behind Colorado. They've got two conference losses. They're 4-2 in conference. They still have Cincinnati at Utah and Kansas State. And, no, those are upper half of the Big 12 teams that they have remaining. Utah is not, but I think we all know that Utah is still, even though they're a 1-5 in conference team, they're still a dangerous team, and you're playing them on the road. So Iowa State's got some serious work ahead of them. Back-to-back losses against teams that I think they're better than. Pretty tough.
Couldn't handle that crowded Arrowhead. I If you're Iowa State, you go on, I guess you call it on the road. You score 36. You got to feel like you're walking out of there with a win. With
I
what that defense has traditionally been, with how Kansas, for the most part this year has struggled. Like Jalen Daniels has not had a good season.
Right.
But credit to the Jayhawks. I mean, Ted, they moved it up and down the field, passing game,
Yep.
running game.
Ran it for 237.
Daniels wasn't the most efficient in the throw game, but I mean, that was one of his better games of the season. The Jayhawks got after him, moved the football, scored touchdowns. That Lance Leipold guy can coach. I know that their record is what it is, but that was a good reminder that when Kansas is sharp, man, Lance Leipold has elevated that program to a different level. That was really impressive, especially offensively from the Jayhawks.
Yeah, and they jumped up on them early, and it was really kind of a come from behind effort from Iowa State. But Rocco Beck, I'm watching some of these highlights as we talk, threw some dimes. I really like him as a quarterback. Um, he threw for 383, had 3 touchdowns, did have one interception, but dude, he's a stud. But Iowa State all of a sudden find themselves in a very difficult place in the Big 12.
And the Big 12 finds itself in a interesting place when it comes to getting two teams into the college football playoff.
Yeah.
All the eggs are in the BYU basket.
Yeah.
Maybe the best scenario. Let me know if you think I'm
BYU went
wrong.
out.
If BYU wins out, you definitely get one team in. If they don't,
Well,
you get one team in no matter what as your conference champion. You think.
To get 2 in, I think you have to have BYU win out and lose in the conference championship game.
But if they lose to Colorado, is there a let's just say, hey, Alabama doesn't make the SEC championship game. They go 10-2. One loss BYU is not getting in over 2-loss Alabama.
No.
So to me, it's starting to feel like whoever wins the
Well,
Big
you
12
got to
championship
go.
game is in.
Alabama's going to be like number 5, though.
Ole Miss.
Number 6.
That's what I'm saying. Like you start
You got.
stacking it up, and the Big 12 is not in a good spot.
That's true. Um, I don't know. It's I don't know. It's tough. But I'll say this. I love the way it's shaping up because
Chaos.
it's chaos. And I honestly believe that a lot of these teams are more even than they've ever been. And 9, 10, 11, 12 are probably going to be way more dangerous to 5, 6, 7, 8 than in any of the past years, if that makes sense, you know? Maybe not like in Alabama, but I mean, I don't know. I like the way it's shaping up. It feels like there's not going to be any games that I mean, there's probably going to be games that aren't close, but whenever you look at them, there's probably most of them are going to be okay. Like I could see a path to victory for all these teams.
It's going to be really fun. I just wish
Wish we were part of it.
just like even close to being in the picture. That's the fun part right now is how many teams feel like they have a chance going into these last few weeks of the season. 15, 20.
Well, I got the rankings right here, and Clemson's numbers. Army's 9-0 at 17. I mean, Texas A&M is at 15. They're still in it. Clemson technically still in it, 7-2. Colorado's number 20 at 7-2. I mean, there's a bunch of teams still in it.
It's fun. I
We
feel
wouldn't
like
even make the NIT of college football right now. Is there an NIT tournament? Are they going to do that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Let's get to my winner and loser, man. That made me sad. Let's get to my winner and loser. But first,
We're brought to you by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. The holiday season is just around the corner, and we're all looking for ways to spend and stress less. HelloFresh makes mealtime nearly hassle-free with delicious, home-delivered, chef-crafted recipes that come together quick and are less expensive than takeout. My wife and I made HelloFresh's pecan-crusted chicken with the honey mustard sauce and lemony apple salad. Easy to make, healthy, it's delicious. It's so easy to follow the instructions. Only took us about 30 minutes, and HelloFresh lets you easily customize your delivery from week to week. You can tailor everything to your schedule by adjusting your delivery day, or you can skip a week when you're not able to cook at home. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown, and you can apply it across 7 boxes. It's new subscribers only, and it varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown.
and guys, we've got to tell you about Public Rec. They reached out. They were interested in advertising on the podcast. We said, hey, we got to try the clothes first. And the Public Rec pants are awesome, Ted. Fantastic product.
I like it, and I wore the hoodie around all weekend up there in up in Missouri.
Yeah. So they pass with flying colors. So go to publicrec.com and use code OK Breakdown for 20% off. Played golf this week. Wore the pants. The Deal Makers, which great name for some pants. Loved them. Perfect for on the golf course. Also, you can wear them to work. By the way, birdied #1 in the Deal Maker pants.
Okay. Did you
Doubled 2, but we don't need to talk about that.
You had
Birdied 1.
You had already ordered more pants before
I
you
was
teed
like,
off
these
on two?
pants are incredible. I need them in every color. But they're awesome. They look like dress pants, kind of feel like sweatpants, have a nice stretch to them. Stop suffering in regular pants and give the gift of comfort this holiday season. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off when you use code OK Breakdown at checkout. That's 20% off with code OK Breakdown at publicrec.com. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Say goodbye to pants that put up a fight, because when comfort meets style, you've found Public Rec. My winner of the weekend, the Colorado Buffaloes. Wasn't easy in Lubbock, but they got it done. End up winning 41-27. Fell in a big hole early. Did not play well early. Down 13-0. Place was rocking, but Colorado found itself offensively coming out of the half, scored touchdowns on their first 3 drives of the second half, and they got playmakers, man. Jadir Sanders gets these guys the football, and whether it's Wester, Hunter, Shepard, these guys make play. Hey, just throw them a little screen. They take it to the house. They make things pretty easy on Sanders at some points, and he distributes the football at a high level. Another really solid game for him. He's starting to creep into the Heisman Trophy conversation as Colorado continues to win games. And Travis Hunter continues to be that dude. 9 for 99 and a touchdown at wide receiver. And then, of course, does what he does at corner. Good football game and a nice win for Colorado, who is 7-2 and now in solo second in the Big 12 conference standings.
Yeah, and it's wild. Shedeur Sanders, 291 through the air, 3 touchdowns, and added a rushing touchdown. I mean, I don't know how he gets it done. They are he's often running for his life back there, but he finds a little bit more time and is able to keep. He's great at keeping his eyes downfield, man. Always has the eyes downfield, and he is deadly accurate with the football.
I like to think that Texas Tech fans and OU fans went through a similar pain this weekend. Now, Texas Tech, they were down in the situation, but they had a very similar, hey, there's a minute to go, got to put a drive together to go win the game or maybe tie the game, and Baron Morton strip, scoop and score. Shiloh Sanders hit a perfect Deion shuffle as his celebration. Perfect. It's like he's his son or something.
Yeah,
but
not
yes,
surprised.
just a brutal way for that game to end. And Tech moves to 0-1 in the Mahomes gray silver jersey things that they went with for that game.
Yeah, that is an interesting look. I guess I don't mind it for them. It's not necessarily bad for them, but I know it's brutally hard for the people calling the game to know who's running around out there. Can't see the numbers at all. They even have gray numbers.
Taj Brooks, hated for him, became the all-time leading rusher in Texas Tech history in this game. Something you want to celebrate, but you lost the game. Unfortunate. Also, does it make me... I don't think this is controversial, but maybe it is. If a guy breaks the school record when he had an extra year, I don't think he should have the school record. Because of a COVID year, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I I don't think that should count, personally. Am I
Well,
wrong? Taj Brooks is a hell of a player, but he had an extra year to break the record.
so how do you calculate his total yards?
I don't know, but I don't know who the leading rusher in the history of Texas Tech football was, but if the guy that broke my record had an extra full season, I would kind of be pissed off.
Well, it's like I think that's how it was with Jocelyn and Allo at OU.
I said the same thing when that happened. Lauren Chamberlain, in my opinion, is still the home run leader in OU history.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying. I do. I mean, I'm looking at it right here. He's played 5 years, and the first 3 years pretty unremarkable. Um, I mean, it's not that he was bad, but the last two, he went for 1,500 yards last year, and he's at 1184 this year. So, I mean, I, he gets an extra 1,100 yards in there. So it does make it hard to really say, well, is that necessarily true? Fair?
I think the best example, Devin Neal, we talked about the Kansas game.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he became Kansas's all-time leading rusher in that game. It's his 4th year. He's played 4 seasons.
Yeah.
He is Kansas's all-time leading rusher. There's no debate. No issue. But these records that are falling because guys got this extra year, there's
Well,
got put an asterisk there or something. That like you have to note that they got a full extra season. And I know that 2020 year was weird, but I don't know.
well, Dylan Gabriel just broke, or did he break the record, or I think 179 touchdowns for him or something like that? Is that what it is? Um, and he's played. This is his 6th year of basically starting every year. Now, 21, he got hurt. Um, Still threw for 9 touchdowns that year, but he's 6 years. Can you get the record?
No, not in my book.
Right.
I don't think that's how it should work. We spent too long on that. Sorry. Loser of the weekend. Miami. They've done
Yeah.
it a lot this year. Come back from big deficits in the fourth quarter. Kind of felt like they were going to do it again. 28-23 with just under 2 minutes. Ball in Cam Ward's hands. Got to put together a drive and get stripped. Can't hold on to the ball that long, Cam Ward. What are you doing?
Right.
And that's kind of, I feel like we've said that quite a few times this year. Get stripped. Georgia Tech recovers. Game over. First loss of the season for Miami. The Yellow Jackets get a big one. Brent Key, that guy, all he does is knock off ranked teams. That's what he does.
You do not want to be a top 5 team based out of the state of Florida and go play Georgia Tech. You do not want to be in that position this season.
No. And you look at Cam Ward's stat line, Ted, he was good. Had some fantastic throws in this game, but ultimately you are judged by how you perform when the game's on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And he held on to that thing too long.
Yep. Miami to me is one of those teams. Like, I'm not saying they're a fraud, but they were the team to me that was ranked like really high. What were they, number 4? That I'm like, are they really the 4th best team in the country? I mean, I don't know. What's their biggest win of the year? Virginia Tech?
That their schedule,
Louisville? I guess it's Louisville.
everyone has acknowledged how easy of a path they have. We'll see how it goes the rest of the way.
It's crazy that they were 9-0. They just dropped that game, and they are now in 3rd place in the ACC. SMU, Clemson ahead of them.
Georgia Tech won the game with 99 yards passing. How do you win a game with 99 yards passing? You rush for 271.
Woo.
That's how. Almost 10 minutes of time of possession advantage for Georgia Tech in this one. And I thought the way that they rotated their quarterbacks was really interesting. Haynes King has the bad shoulder, didn't ask him to do much in the throw game. Hey, Do what you do well. Go run it. Aaron Philo comes in, handles some of the obvious passing situations. Thought that was really good coaching from Britt Key. And to Philo's credit, didn't make any critical errors. And then Georgia Tech's wide receiver has a chance to score a touchdown late in the game. And instead of going into the end zone, which would give Miami the ball back, maybe they go score, then they do an onside kick. You never know what happens. What does he do, Ted? What do good coach teams do?
He takes the knee, slides, stays in bounds.
And then they take a knee. End it on the field.
There you go.
Tough.
8 guys had carried the football for Georgia Tech, spreading the rock around.
Love it. Tough day for the ACC office. Will do whatever it takes to make Miami undefeated group.
Uh,
ACC and Big 12 got to really be getting worried that they're going to be one bid leagues.
I know. And you're just going to fill it up with Big 10 and SEC teams, which, the way I honestly look at it right now is probably it's getting harder and harder to make the case for other teams in those conferences at the moment.
When it comes to the big picture of college football, maybe the best thing for the sport is for the ACC and the Big 12 to only get one team this year. Because we're all aware of some of the discussion that's taken place surrounding the Big 10 and the SEC and them being satisfied with how many teams they get in. Well, from the first year, you get 5 SEC teams in and 4 Big 10 teams in. I think they'll be pretty satisfied. And maybe for the overall sport, that's the best thing that could happen, to where there's not another massive shift in the sport. I don't know. It's just something to think about, because those two conferences being pleased with how this bracket looks this year, I think that's important for what the future of this thing looks like.
Yeah. Well, I think the last thing you want to do is you don't want a stretch to put, like, say 2 in from the Big 12, and whoever that second team is, the non-conference champion, same thing, the ACC. You don't want to stretch to put that team in and they get absolutely destroyed, because you don't want to ruin the chance of doing it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, you better be right whenever you put a team that their record looks good, but who they play doesn't match up with a 2 or maybe even a 3-loss SEC school. Like, if you make that move and you hold a really good team out and you put that team in and they get housed by someone that maybe that 3-loss team even beat, like, you're messing with the whole situation. And that's whenever conferences rather, start to say, couldn't we just do this on our own?
And if
That's
you
not
look
what you
at it,
want.
yeah, and if you look at it and go, well, does the SEC, should they really get 5 teams in? You know who's in 5th place in the SEC right now?
I don't know. Probably Georgia. I don't know.
Alabama.
Alabama.
They
There you
looked
go.
like the best team in the country this weekend. So it's just, it is what it is. Like, are you going to put Alabama in, or are you going to put Colorado or Iowa State or Kansas State? You're going to put Alabama in. Let's be real.
Actually, Alabama's in 6th.
Who's in 5th?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Tennessee, A&M, Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama. At least that's how it's listed in order on the
No, you're
standings.
right. So, excuse me. The two teams that looked like the best teams in the country this week
Or
are in
5 and 6.
fifth and sixth in the SEC.
That's right.
Do I want to see those guys or do I want to see Colorado? Actually, I kind of want to see Colorado in the mix. But do I want to see those guys or do I want to see Iowa State? Come on. What are we
Right.
even talking about? And
Right.
maybe for this first year of this, when it comes to preventing another massive sweeping change in college football, maybe that's the best thing that could happen.
Yep.
Just wish OU was even in the picture.
I know it. I
Like we're
know.
not even in the bubble talk.
Not even in the bubble talk.
Thank God Florida State's been such a disaster, or else, you
Who
know,
else are we rooting against? Who else could draw some negative attention their way?
Florida
USC.
State,
USC. Thank
USC, and
you.
Florida State. Be distracted by them, people. Don't look at Oklahoma. We'll be fine. Birthday shout outs. Happy fifth birthday to Charlie Grace Robinson.
Happy 13th birthday to Emma Ferguson.
Happy 14th birthday to Gunnar Stockton.
Happy 16th birthday to Camden Yard Singleton.
And happy 16th birthday to Drew Ripple. On that note, episode 473 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Wednesday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great start to your week. Be strong, Sooner Nation. We'll get through this together. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.